the prison transport that never reached the courthouse. The transport van was supposed to arrive at the Cook County Courthouse by 9 a.m. sharp. But at 9:17, the call came in, Unit 47 hasn't checked in. By 9:30, an officer found a van, empty, parked on the shoulder of a quiet two-lane highway just outside Joliet, Illinois. The engine was still running, headlights on. The steel back doors were locked from the inside. Inside, 6 sets of handcuffs dangled loosely from their brackets. No driver, no guards, no inmates. Detective Erin Cole, a 15-year veteran of the Illinois State Police, arrived first on the scene. Her boots crunched against the gravel as she approached the van. Steam rose from the exhaust in the cold morning air. "Dispatch, confirm the unit number," she said into her radio. "This is Transport 47, right?" "Confirmed," the dispatcher replied. 6 inmates. 2 officers. Scheduled for 0900 arrival. They've been missing 43 minutes. Erin slowly opened the driver's door. The seatbelt hung open. The coffee in the cup holder was still hot. She checked the dashboard camera. It was on, but the last 30 minutes of footage were gone. Deleted. Her partner, Detective Mark Wren, looked around the road. No skid marks. No signs of a struggle. It's like they just vanished. Erin glanced inside the back compartment. Handcuffs still locked, seats empty. The prisoners' names were listed on a clipboard near the driver's visor. The top name stood out, James Dalton, serving 15 years for armed robbery. The same Dalton she had arrested 3 years earlier. She exhaled sharply. This isn't random. A few miles away, news outlets were already reporting communication errors between agencies. Officials refused to use the word missing. They said delayed. But Erin had seen this before. Cover-ups start with soft language. She crouched near the van's tire tracks. They led about 10 feet into gravel, then simply stopped. No sign of turning or braking. Just ended. As she stood, her radio crackled again. "Erin, dispatch says GPS data shows the van left the highway at 8:41, took a service road heading west for 12 minutes, then signal lost." "Lost where?" she asked. "An old route behind the quarry." The voice said, "Nobody uses that road anymore." Erin looked up at the endless tree line beyond the field. "Mark, we're going west." They followed the faint dirt road until the pavement disappeared. The trees closed in, branches scraping against the sides of their vehicle. After 15 minutes, the road widened, and there it was, a chain-link gate, half open. Beyond it sat another vehicle. The same kind, same color, same license number. Erin froze. "That's not possible," she whispered. Mark stepped out of the car, flashlight in hand. He ran the VIN from the transport van parked ahead. It matched exactly with the one abandoned on the highway. Both vans were Transport 47. "That's not a copy," Mark said quietly. "That's the same van." Before Erin could answer, a rustling sound came from the trees to their left. She aimed her flashlight. For a second, she thought she saw a figure, a man in uniform, standing between the branches. But when the light touched him, he was gone. She called out, "Illinois State Police. Identify yourself." No response. Only the distant hum of insects and the slow dripping of water from tree leaves. Mark circled around the duplicate van. "Erin," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "You should see this." She joined him, and her breath caught in her throat. On the passenger seat sat a clipboard. Same names, same log sheet, but one detail was different. Under driver's name, someone had crossed out Officer Daniel Price and replaced it with Erin Cole. Her own name. The air grew colder. Mark stared at her in disbelief. "That's your name. In your handwriting." Erin shook her head. "I didn't." Before she could finish, their car radio burst to life, a distorted voice whispering through the static. "Unit 47 arrived at the courthouse 20 minutes ago. All accounted for." Erin looked at Mark, her face pale. "That's impossible. We're looking at the van." Then the engine of the duplicate van roared to life on its own. The headlights snapped on, blinding them. And from inside the van, a male voice said clearly, through the loudspeaker, "Detective Cole, you're late." For a few seconds, neither Aaron nor Mark moved. The headlights in the running van glared through the trees, cutting through the mist like white fire. Erin's hand hovered near her holster. She swallowed hard. "Who's in there?" she called out, voice firm but trembling slightly. No reply, only the low hum of the idling engine. Then the headlights blinked twice and shut off completely. Darkness swallowed the clearing. Mark took a step forward, shining his flashlight through the windshield. The driver's seat was empty. The back doors were closed. "There's no one inside," he said quietly. Erin circled to the back. Her boots splashed through puddles. She placed her hand on the cold metal handle of the door, looked at Mark, then pulled it open. Inside, 6 shackles hung from the wall, each one occupied by a folded orange jumpsuit. No people, just uniforms. Each had a name tag stitched above the chest, neatly arranged. At the very end, one uniform read Aaron Cole. Mark's flashlight wavered. "This is a setup," he said. "Someone's messing with us." But Aaron didn't answer. She was staring at the floor. There was a small puddle of water, and in the middle of it, a key ring with the Cook County seal. She bent down and picked it up. It was hers. Her initials were carved into the tag. You see. Her radio buzzed again. "Detective Cole, do you copy? Courthouse security confirms Transport 47 arrived at 8:59 a.m. All inmates present and processed. Over." Aaron froze. "Say that again," she said into her radio. "Repeat. Transport 47 is secure at the courthouse. 2 guards, 6 inmates. Check your time. Must be a systems glitch on your end." Mark frowned. "They're saying the van made it, but we're standing in front of it." Aaron exhaled slowly. "Let's verify that report." She pulled out her phone and called the courthouse directly. A tired-sounding clerk answered. "Cook County Corrections." "Who's calling?" "This is Detective Cole. I need confirmation that Transport 47 arrived with all prisoners." There was a pause. Papers shuffled. "Yes, ma'am. Logged at 8:59 a.m. by Officer Daniel Price. All 6 prisoners signed in." Aaron blinked. "Can I speak to Officer Price?" No, ma'am. He's currently out escorting the inmates to holding." She ended the call and looked at Mark. Price has been dead for 3 years. They stared at each other, the silence thickening. Then a low rumble broke through the distance, an approaching vehicle on the gravel road. The beam of headlights cut through the trees. Mark whispered, "Backup?" Aaron shook her head. "Dispatch doesn't even know we're out here yet." A second van appeared, this one clearly newer. It slowed to a stop beside them. The side door opened, and a man stepped out in a crisp state uniform. "Detectives," he said calmly. "You're not supposed to be here." Aaron aimed her flashlight at him. "Who are you?" He smiled faintly. "Officer Daniel Price." Mark's jaw dropped. "That's not possible." The man ignored him and continued. "We appreciate your cooperation, but this area is under federal review. You'll return to your vehicle and await further instructions." Aaron's voice hardened. "Sir, you were declared deceased. Your name was on the list of casualties from the 2021 transfer crash." The man chuckled softly. "Rumors. People misfile things." He stepped closer, his badge gleaming in the dim light. "Sometimes even detectives get confused about what's real and what's not." Mark whispered, "Aaron, we should leave." But Aaron didn't move. She was staring at Price's reflection in the van's window. In the glass, he wasn't wearing a badge. He was wearing inmate cuffs, and his eyes were hollow, dark. She turned sharply, gun raised. "Don't move." But Price just smiled and said, "You're already late, detective. They've been waiting for you at the courthouse." Before she could respond, the man turned, walked toward his van, and vanished behind the glare of its lights. When the beams faded, the van was gone. No sound of an engine, no tire tracks, nothing. Mark rubbed his forehead. "This is insane. 2 identical vans, a dead officer talking like he's alive. What do we even report?" Aaron didn't answer. She walked back to their car and grabbed the clipboard from the duplicate van. She flipped through the pages until her fingers stopped at the time log. The final entry read, 9 a.m., All prisoners delivered. Driver, Aaron Cole. Her phone buzzed again. A new message appeared on the screen. No number, just text. You're next on a route. Mark leaned over her shoulder. What does that mean? Before she could answer, the radio erupted again, this time with screaming feedback and static. Through the distortion came a voice that froze them both. Detective Cole, please step inside the vehicle. The inmates are waiting. They turned toward the duplicate van. Its back doors were wide open again, chains swaying gently, as if someone had just moved through them. And from inside came the faint echo of a man's voice saying, 88 minutes left. The radio went dead. For a long moment, there was nothing but the faint tap of dripping water from the trees and the hum of the idling cruiser. Erin's pulse pounded in her ears. 88 minutes, she whispered. That's the exact time window every prisoner transport runs on. Mark stepped closer to the van, shining his flashlight over the open doors. It's empty again, he said, voice low. But those chains, they were moving. Erin glanced at her watch. 10:03 a.m. If the courthouse believed the inmates had already been processed at 9, something else had happened in that lost hour. She grabbed her camera and started taking photos of the scene. Tire imprints, puddles, the van's number plate. When she checked the photos on her screen, the van wasn't visible in any of them. The clearing was empty. Mark, she said quietly, showing the pictures. He frowned. That's impossible. She zoomed in on the timestamp. Each shot was there, every tree, every puddle, but the transport van wasn't. Before they could react, the radio cracked again, but this time it wasn't static. It was the sound of a man breathing. Then a voice said calmly, Unit 47 departing for courthouse. ETA 70 minutes. Erin's eyes went wide. That's our van. Someone's using our call sign. They jumped into their cruiser and tore down the dirt road, sirens off. The radio repeated the same phrase every 10 minutes, the ETA ticking down. But the GPS screen on their dashboard showed no signal from any transport within 50 miles. At the main highway, they found fresh tire marks merging with traffic. Erin followed the tracks to the overpass that led toward the courthouse. The city skyline shimmered in the distance under a pale gray haze. Then she saw it. Up ahead, half a mile away, a white prison van. Same make, same number, moving fast through traffic. That's it, Mark said, gripping the dashboard. They accelerated, closing the gap. Erin flicked her siren once. The van didn't slow. Instead, it drifted into the emergency lane and picked up speed. As they got closer, Erin saw the back window. There was a face staring at them. James Dalton, the prisoner who was supposed to be inside the missing transport. She grabbed the radio. Dispatch confirmed Dalton's custody status. The response came immediately. Confirmed at courthouse, ma'am. In holding cell 4. Erin's voice trembled. He's in front of us right now. The van turned suddenly down an off-ramp toward the old industrial district. Erin followed, tires squealing. They weaved between warehouses until the van stopped in front of an abandoned shipping yard. The doors swung open and 6 orange jumpsuits stepped out, each figure walking slowly toward the chain-link gate. Mark drew his weapon. Erin, wait! But Erin was already out of the car. She called out, Illinois State Police. Stop where you are. The prisoners kept walking, heads down, silent. Their movements were steady, almost mechanical. When she shone her flashlight at them, the beam passed straight through one of the figures and hit the fence behind him. Mark whispered, They're not real. The figures reached the gate, then disappeared one by one, fading into the dark. The van doors slammed shut by themselves. The engine started again. Erin raised her radio. Command, this is Detective Cole. We have visual on. The van's horn blared, drowning out her words. It revved, turned toward them, and accelerated, headlights blinding. Erin jumped aside as it roared past, clipping the cruiser's side mirror. She spun, watching it speed toward the far end of the yard, and drive straight into the concrete wall. The crash was deafening. Sparks burst, smoke filled the air, and pieces of metal rained down. But when the smoke cleared, there was no wreckage. No van. Just a faint scorch mark on the wall. Mark's voice cracked. Where did it go? Aaron stepped closer to the impact site. Something glinted among the debris, a small piece of metal. She picked it up. It was a badge fragment. The engraving read, Officer Daniel Price, Unit 47. Her hands shook as she looked around. This is the second time his name's come up. Whatever this is, it's repeating. Then, in the distance, faint sirens began to echo. Real ones this time. Backup finally arriving. Aaron let out a breath of relief, until her radio chirped one last time. Transport 47 arriving at courthouse now. Time, 9 a.m. She stared at the radio, the words replaying in her mind. The time hadn't changed. It was still reading the same hour she'd left the highway. Mark whispered, Aaron, we've been driving for over 2 hours. She looked at her watch. It was frozen at 9 hours. The second hand wasn't moving, and as she turned, she saw something she hadn't noticed before, etched into the concrete wall where the van had vanished. A faint stencil of the Cook County seal. Below it, written in chalk, route reset, 88 minutes remaining. The ground beneath her boots vibrated again, like an approaching engine somewhere deep underground. Mark took a step back. Aaron, do you hear that? She nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. It's starting again. The rumbling beneath the concrete grew louder, steady, mechanical, rhythmic. Dust began to shake loose from the steel rafters above as Aaron and Mark backed away from the wall. The sound was unmistakable. An engine. Aaron raised her flashlight and aimed it toward the faint outline of the Cook County seal. The wall was vibrating now. Tiny cracks forming where the mark had been drawn. Something's behind it, she said. Mark grabbed her shoulder. Aaron, whatever that is, we need to wait for backup. But the ground split before he could finish. A loud metallic creak tore through the air, and the wall slowly opened outward, like an elevator door. Beyond it, a ramp descended into total darkness. The sound of a van engine idling echoed from deep inside. Aaron swallowed hard. You hear that? That's Transport 47. She stepped forward cautiously, light trembling in her hand. Mark followed close behind. This is insane, he muttered. There's no tunnel under this property. I checked the old blueprints myself. The ramp curved down into a massive underground corridor, low concrete ceilings, flickering fluorescent lights, the smell of fuel thick in the air. And there at the bottom sat a white prison transport van, identical to the others. Engine running, headlights off. Aaron approached slowly, gun raised. Mark covered the rear. She moved toward the driver's side door and pulled it open. The seat was empty, but the radio inside was on, crackling with faint static. Then, through the interference, a voice whispered, 88 minutes until next delivery. Her breath caught. Next delivery? Of what? The radio hissed again. Subjects, 6. Escort, Cole. Mark stepped around the van, flashlights sweeping over the back doors. Aaron, he said softly, you need to see this. She joined him. On the back door was a fresh stencil, spray painted in black. Unit 47, active transport. Below it, 6 names were listed. The first 5 were the inmates who'd vanished. The 6th was new. Cole, Aaron. She froze. No, she whispered. That's not possible. Mark looked at her, confused. What is this? A threat? Before she could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed from deeper in the tunnel. Heavy, deliberate, in sync with the idling engine. Aaron spun around, flashlight trembling across the walls. Who's there? From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, uniform pressed, badge shining. Officer Daniel Price. Detective, he said calmly. You've been late for 3 runs now. We were beginning to think you wouldn't make it. Aaron raised her gun. You're dead, Price. You died in that 2021 crash. He tilted his head slightly. Everyone on this route dies, Detective. That's how the system keeps working. Mark took a step forward. What system? Price smiled faintly. The transport never stops. Every 88 minutes, it resets. The inmates, the guards, the driver, the same route, the same result. over and over. He looked at Aaron. "You shouldn't have come looking for it." The tunnel lights flickered violently, and for a split second, Price's reflection appeared in every shiny surface, mirrors of him standing all along the corridor. Then, one by one, the images blinked out until only the real one remained. Aaron shouted, "End this! Tell me where they are." Price took another step forward, eyes dark,